The photograph trembled in Sarah's hands as she stared at the impossible image before her. There she was, standing in a wedding dress she'd never worn, beside a man she'd never met, in a church she'd never entered. The date stamped on the back read 3 years ago, the same day she remembered spending alone in her apartment, recovering from a breakdown that had stolen weeks from her memory. Her reflection in the hallway mirror seemed to mock her confusion. The woman looking back had the same auburn hair, the same green eyes, but something fundamental felt wrong. The scar above her left eyebrow, the one from childhood, was missing. Her hands, usually steady from years of piano lessons, shook uncontrollably. The apartment around her felt foreign, despite being her home for 5 years. Family photos lined the mantelpiece, but the faces were strangers wearing familiar smiles. A wedding ring sat on the kitchen counter, the metal warm as if recently removed. What had happened to her memories? And who was the woman in the photograph? Sarah's investigation began with the simplest of questions. Who had taken the photograph? The camera shop downtown had closed years ago, but the elderly owner, Mr. Henderson, still lived above the empty storefront. His weathered hands examined the photo with the care of someone who had handled thousands of memories. "Professional work," he murmured, adjusting his glasses. "The lighting, the composition. This wasn't taken by an amateur." He paused, studying Sarah's face with an expression that made her skin crawl. "You don't remember me taking this, do you?" The words hit her like ice water. She had never met this man before, yet he spoke with the familiarity of someone who had captured one of the most important moments of her life. Henderson's shop had been her family's go-to photographer for decades, but she had no memory of ever stepping foot inside. "The wedding was beautiful," he continued softly. "You seemed so happy. It's a shame about what happened afterward." The drive to the church from the photograph felt like moving through a dream. Sarah's hands gripped the steering wheel as muscle memory guided her through turns she didn't remember learning. The Gothic building loomed against the gray sky, its spires reaching toward clouds that seemed to press down with supernatural weight. Inside, the pews were empty, but somehow familiar. Her footsteps echoed in the vast space as she approached the altar where she had apparently stood 3 years ago. The stained glass windows cast colored shadows that danced across her skin, and for a moment she could almost hear the ghost of organ music. "You're back," a voice said from behind her. Father Martinez emerged from the shadows, his collar stark white against his dark cassock. "I wondered when you might return." Sarah turned slowly, her heart hammering. "I don't understand. I've never been here before." The priest's eyes held infinite sadness. "That's what you said the last time you came looking for answers." The church records told a story that Sarah couldn't reconcile with her own memories. There, in Father Martinez's careful handwriting, was documentation of her marriage to someone named David Chen. The witness signatures belonged to people she had never met, yet the handwriting looked disturbingly similar to her own family members. "Memory is a fragile thing," Father Martinez explained as they sat in his office. "Trauma can create gaps, but it can also create false memories to fill those gaps. Sometimes the mind protects us from truths we're not ready to face." Sarah studied the marriage certificate, her alleged signature perfect in every detail. "What kind of trauma?" The silence stretched uncomfortably long. Outside, thunder rumbled despite the cloudless sky she remembered seeing moments before. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "The kind that changes everything you thought you knew about yourself. The kind that makes you question whether the person you think you are ever existed at all." The address on the marriage certificate led to a modest house in the suburbs, where Sarah found herself standing before a door she had apparently walked through countless times. The key in her purse, one she had never noticed before, fit perfectly in the lock. Inside, the house was a museum of a life she couldn't remember living. Wedding photos lined the walls, each one showing her radiant happiness with David, a man whose face stirred no recognition. Their bedroom contained 2 sets of everything, including clothes in her exact size hanging in the closet. On the nightstand sat a journal in her handwriting filled with entries about marital bliss, career achievements, and plans for the future. The final entry, dated 3 years ago, was different. The handwriting was erratic, desperate. "He knows I know. I have to disappear. I have to make them forget. The treatment will work. It has to work." Sarah's hands trembled as she read the words. What treatment? What did she need to forget? The medical records Sarah found hidden in the house painted a picture of experimental therapy designed to selectively erase traumatic memories. Dr. Elizabeth Vance, a neurologist specializing in memory disorders, had treated Sarah for what was described as acute psychological trauma resulting from discovery of spouse's criminal activities. The treatment involved a combination of drugs and targeted electromagnetic therapy to disrupt specific neural pathways. According to the notes, Sarah had volunteered for the experimental procedure after witnessing something that had left her catatonic for weeks. Dr. Vance's office was in a part of the city Sarah had never visited, yet the receptionist greeted her by name. "Mrs. Chen, Dr. Vance has been expecting you. She said you would eventually come back when the memories started returning." The waiting room felt suffocating. Other patients sat in chairs with vacant expressions, their eyes holding the same confusion Sarah felt. A woman about her age caught her attention. She looked remarkably similar to Sarah, down to the missing scar above her eyebrow. Dr. Vance was younger than Sarah expected, with kind eyes that seemed to hold terrible secrets. Her office was filled with brain scans and charts showing neural pathways, but it was the photographs on her desk that made Sarah's blood run cold. Pictures of her throughout the treatment process, her face becoming increasingly blank with each session. "The human mind is remarkably adaptable," Dr. Vance explained, her voice clinical yet compassionate. "When faced with unbearable truth, it will create elaborate fictions to protect itself. Your case was unique because you actively chose to forget." What did I see? "Your husband wasn't who you thought he was. The man you married, the life you built, it was all constructed around a lie so profound that your mind couldn't process it. The treatment was meant to give you a chance at a normal life." "But the memories are coming back." "They always do." The truth was hidden in David's home office, behind a false wall that Sarah's returning memories guided her to find. Inside were files documenting his real identity, not David Chen, loving husband, but Marcus Webb, a man who had been constructing false identities for dangerous people over a decade. The photographs were the most disturbing discovery. Dozens of women, all bearing a striking resemblance to Sarah, all documented in similar marriages to men with fabricated backgrounds. Each file contained wedding photos, medical records, and eventually death certificates. The pattern was clear. Marcus would marry these women, use their identities to legitimize his clients, and then they would disappear. Sarah's file was different. Instead of a death certificate, it contained Dr. Vance's treatment notes and a chilling addendum. Subject successfully integrated into new identity. Memory suppression holding. Recommend continued monitoring. The final document was a contract signed by someone claiming to be Sarah's sister, a sister she had never had, authorizing the memory treatment and agreeing to maintain the fiction of Sarah's new life. The revelation that her entire support system was fabricated sent Sarah spiraling into a paranoid examination of everyone she thought she knew. Her best friend Emma, who had been there through the supposed breakdown, had no photographs of their friendship before 3 years ago. Her therapist, Dr. Rodriguez, had notes dating back only to Sarah's first session after the memory treatment. Even her job at the marketing firm felt wrong. Her colleagues were friendly but distant, and her work history showed a convenient gap during the exact period when she would have been married to Marcus. The apartment she thought she had lived in for 5 years had actually been leased just 3 years ago. Sarah found herself standing in her bathroom mirror, studying the face that no longer felt like her own. The missing scar was just one of the many small changes. Her teeth were different, her hands softer, even her voice seemed higher-pitched. Dr. Vance had given her more than new memories. She had given her a new identity entirely. But who had she been before?
The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. A letter addressed to someone named Catherine Morrison, delivered to Sarah's apartment by mistake. The return address was from a law firm handling Catherine's estate. Catherine Morrison had died in a car accident 3 years ago, but the photograph in the obituary showed Sarah's face. Sarah's hands shook as she read about Catherine's life. A successful architect, daughter of Robert and Helen Morrison, sister to no one. Catherine had been married to Marcus Webb and had discovered his true identity just before her supposed death. The newspaper clipping showed a burned-out car on a mountain road, but no body had ever been recovered. Dr. Vance's office was empty when Sarah arrived, but the files were still there. Catherine Morrison's complete treatment records revealed the truth. She hadn't died in the accident. She had been given a new identity and a new life as Sarah Mitchell, complete with fabricated memories of a different childhood, different parents, and a different history. Marcus was still out there, still creating false identities, still marrying women who looked like her. As Sarah, or Catherine, stands at the crossroads between two identities, the question remains: can we ever truly trust our own memories? The mind's ability to protect us from unbearable truths is both a gift and a curse, creating realities that feel absolutely real until they're shattered by the weight of forgotten truth. This psychological thriller reminds us that identity is fragile than we imagine. The woman in the mirror might be a stranger. The life we remember might be a carefully constructed lie. And the people we trust might be the very ones rewriting our reality. What do you think Sarah should do? Should she confront Marcus and risk everything, or disappear again into a new identity? Can someone truly escape their past, or do buried memories always find a way to surface? Share your theories in the comments below. I love hearing how these twisted stories affect you. If this mind-bending story left you questioning your own memories, hit that like button and subscribe for more psychological thrillers that will keep you awake at night. Next week, we'll explore another dark secret that proves reality is never quite what it seems. Until next time, stay kind, stay sharp, and stay curious.